My girlfriend sent me a photo with her ex. I'm angry. It was one of those typical sunny mornings in June, when the warmth of the sun feels like a gentle promise of a good day ahead. I was sitting on my balcony with a cup of coffee, lazily scrolling through my phone. Birds were chirping, the city was waking up, and everything felt just right. Texting my girlfriend, Sarah, who was away for a work trip, had become my morning ritual. We had a cute thing going. Every morning she would send me a random, silly selfie of her day starting, and I would reply with an exaggerated compliment or a goofy photo of my own. This morning was no different, or so I thought. Sarah sent me a picture of herself, her hair tousled in that effortlessly sexy way she always managed, eyes bright even though it was still early for her. She looked happy, radiant even, and it filled me with a warm sense of contentment. We texted back and forth for a bit, just usual stuff, her telling me about the boring meeting she had to go to later, and me talking about the new video game I was planning to dive into once I had some free time. Later in the day, as I was getting ready to head out for a quick jog, my phone buzzed. It was Sarah again. I smiled, thinking she might be sending me a picture of her lunch or something equally mundane yet endearing. I opened the message, and that's when my heart skipped a beat. It was a picture of Sarah, but she wasn't alone. She was hugging a guy, someone I didn't recognize at first. They looked happy, cozy, like they had a history. For a moment, my brain refused to process what my eyes were seeing. Then it hit me. This was her ex. I knew him from a few old photos she'd shown me when we were talking about our past relationships. His name was Dave or Dan or something like that. I wasn't sure. The guy she used to talk about with a hint of sadness mixed with relief. The one who'd broken her heart before we met. My chest tightened. I felt a rush of emotions, confusion, anger, jealousy all at once. Why would she send me a picture of her and her ex? I stared at the photo for what felt like ages, my mind racing. Was this some kind of joke, a mistake? Or was there something she wasn't telling me? Before I could make sense of it, another message came through. It was a picture of the two of us together, taken a few weeks ago on a hiking trip. We were smiling, arms around each other, looking genuinely happy. Underneath the photo, she'd written, "I miss you." I stared at the screen, my thoughts a tangled mess. What was I supposed to feel? She misses me but sends a picture of her with her ex. I felt a pang of betrayal mixed with confusion. It didn't make any sense. Without really thinking, I responded by sending her back the picture of her and her ex, followed by a simple, pointed question. Who is this? There was a pause, a long, heavy pause. My phone felt like it was burning in my hand. Then, her reply came through. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to send that. It was an accident. I was going through old photos and must have sent it by mistake while deleting stuff. An accident. I tried to wrap my head around that explanation. It sounded plausible, but I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled in my stomach. I didn't know how to respond, so I just typed, "No comment," and left it at that. I put my phone down and tried to focus on something else, but my mind kept drifting back to that picture. Images of Sarah and her ex together kept flashing in my mind. I replayed our conversations, our moments together, looking for any sign, any clue that something was amiss. There was nothing. Everything between us had been good, great even. We were happy, weren't we? The rest of the day passed in a blur. I ignored Sarah's calls, her texts asking me to call her back. I just couldn't deal with it. I went for that jog, but it did little to clear my mind. The rhythmic pounding of my feet on the pavement only seemed to echo my confusion and frustration. That evening, I found myself sitting on my couch, staring blankly at the TV. A sitcom was playing, but I wasn't really watching. My mind was still stuck on that photo. Was I overreacting? Maybe it really was just an accident. Or maybe it was something more. I didn't know, and that uncertainty was eating me up inside. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Sarah. "I understand if you're mad. Just please talk to me." Her words felt like a plea, a desperate attempt to make things right, but I wasn't ready to talk. Not yet. I tried to distract myself. I cooked dinner, watched some more TV, even tried to read a book. but nothing could take my mind off that picture. Eventually, I decided to go for a walk, hoping the cool evening air might help clear my head. The city was calm and quiet, the streets almost deserted. I walked aimlessly, my thoughts still a chaotic jumble. How did we get here? Just this morning, everything had been perfect. Now, I was questioning everything. I found myself wandering into a small park, the one where Sarah and I had spent so many afternoons together. Sitting on a bench, I looked up at the stars, feeling a mix of nostalgia and sadness. My phone buzzed again. This time, I finally looked at it. Another message from Sarah. I'm so sorry. I know it looks bad, but it really was an accident. Please call me. We need to talk. I sighed, staring at the screen. Maybe she was right. Maybe we did need to talk. But I wasn't ready to hear her explanations. Not yet. I needed more time to process, to figure out how I felt. The next few days were a blur. I threw myself into work, trying to keep my mind off everything. But every quiet moment was filled with thoughts of Sarah, of that photo, of what it meant for us. I kept replaying her words in my head, trying to make sense of it all. Sarah kept texting, calling, trying to reach out. I read her messages but didn't respond. Part of me wanted to believe her, to accept that it was just a stupid mistake. But another part of me, the part that had been hurt before, couldn't let go of the nagging doubts. Finally, after a few days of radio silence, I decided it was time. I couldn't avoid her forever. We needed to talk, to clear the air. So I texted her, let's meet. We need to talk. Her response was almost immediate. Yes, please. When and where? We agreed to meet at our favorite cafe, the one where we'd had our first date. It felt like a fitting place to talk, to try to make sense of everything. As I walked there, my heart was pounding. I didn't know what to expect, what she would say, or how I would react. When I arrived, Sarah was already there, sitting at a table near the window. She looked nervous, her fingers fiddling with the edge of her coffee cup. As I approached, she looked up, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and fear. Hi, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Hi, I replied, taking a seat across from her. For a moment, we just sat there in silence, the weight of everything hanging between us. Finally, Sarah broke the silence. I'm really sorry, she said, her eyes pleading. I didn't mean to send that picture. It was a mistake, I swear. I nodded, but didn't say anything. I wanted to hear her out, to understand what had happened. I was going through my phone, deleting old stuff, she continued, her voice trembling slightly. I saw that picture and ... I don't know, it brought back memories. Not good ones, just ... memories. I guess I accidentally sent it instead of deleting it. I never meant for you to see it. Her explanation sounded sincere, but I still felt a pang of uncertainty. Why didn't you just tell me that right away? I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. I panicked, she admitted, tears welling up in her eyes. I knew how it would look, and I didn't want to hurt you. I thought ... I thought maybe you wouldn't believe me. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. It's not that I don't believe you. It's just ... it brought up a lot of feelings. Confusion, jealousy ... I don't know. It just really threw me off. I understand, she said, reaching across the table to take my hand. I know it's hard to believe, but I love you. You're the one I want to be with. That picture doesn't mean anything to me anymore. You do. I looked at her, seeing the sincerity in her eyes, and felt a flicker of hope. Maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe it really was just a stupid mistake. I want to believe you, I said quietly, but it's hard. I don't know if I can just forget about it. You don't have to forget, she said, squeezing my hand. Just ... try to understand. I messed up, but it wasn't on purpose. I'll do anything to make it up to you. We sat there, holding hands, both of us feeling the weight of the moment hanging heavily between us. The cafe buzzed with its usual afternoon chatter, oblivious to the emotional turmoil at our table. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my thoughts. "I love you too, Sarah," I finally said, my voice softer now. "But this really shook me. I need time to process everything." Sarah nodded, her eyes still locked on mine. "I understand," she murmured. "Take all the time you need. I just ... I don't want to lose you over a stupid mistake." Her words hit me hard. She looked genuinely remorseful, vulnerable even. It was clear she regretted what had happened. Yet, the unease lingered. Could I really move past this? Trust was fragile, easily shattered, and once broken, it was hard to rebuild. We sat in silence for a while longer, both lost in our thoughts. Eventually, Sarah spoke again, her voice tentative. "Do you think ... we can work through this?" I didn't have an answer. Part of me wanted to say yes, to embrace her and move forward. But another part, the part that had been hurt and betrayed before, hesitated. "I don't know," I admitted finally. "I want to believe you. I want to trust you, but ... Sarah nodded, her eyes glistening with envious tears. "I know," she whispered. "I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust back. Just ... please don't shut me out." Her vulnerability touched something deep inside me. I reached across the table, taking her hand in mine. "I won't shut you out," I promised softly. "But we have to talk about this. We can't just sweep it under the rug." She nodded again, squeezing my hand tightly. "I agree," she said earnestly. "Let's talk about it. Let's figure this out together." And so we talked. We talked about trust, about honesty, about our fears and insecurities. Sarah explained again how the picture had been an accidental send, how she had panicked and didn't know how to explain it. I listened, trying to put myself in her shoes, trying to understand. As the evening wore on, the weight in my chest began to ease. Sarah's honesty and vulnerability helped bridge the gap between us. We weren't back to normal, not yet, but we were on the path to healing. In the days that followed, we took small steps forward. We spent more time together, talking, laughing, trying to rebuild what had been shaken. I learned to trust her again, slowly but surely, and Sarah, true to her word, did everything she could to reassure me of her love and commitment. Time passed, and the memory of that picture began to fade into the background. Our relationship grew stronger, forged through the challenges we had faced together. We learned to communicate better, to be more open with each other. Looking back now, I realize that moment could have been the breaking point for us. It could have driven us apart, irreparably damaging what we had. But instead, it became a turning point, a test of our love and resilience. Sarah and I are still together today, stronger than ever. We've faced other challenges since then, as all couples do. But each time, we've emerged stronger, more united. That accidental picture, sent in a moment of carelessness, taught us both valuable lessons about trust, forgiveness, and the fragility of relationships. It reminded us that love isn't always smooth sailing, it's messy and complicated and requires constant effort. And through it all, I'm grateful for Sarah's patience, her honesty, and her unwavering love. We've come a long way from that uncertain afternoon in the cafe, and I'm thankful every day that we chose to fight for each other. So, if you ask me now whether I should have been mad at Sarah for sending me that picture, I would say no. I was hurt, confused, and angry in that moment, yes. But ultimately, what mattered was how we dealt with it together. We chose to confront the issue, to communicate openly, and to rebuild what was damaged. And in doing so, we found a love stronger than before, one that had weathered the storm and emerged even more resilient.